Battlefield is a game that has evolved over time. It's become a completely different beast to the original concept that appeared in 2002, and throughout its long and illustrious lifespan it has been awarded some very prestigious awards and broken many records. That's not what this video is about though. As much as I want to praise DICE for all the hard work they've put into Battlefield 5, I can't help but feel as if this half-baked game will never live up to the potential, and that's a great shame. There is so much of Battlefield 5 that I love, and even though I have been very critical of the game since it released, and to be honest, even earlier than its release, I am finding myself having fun from time to time. The introduction of Firestorm wasn't everybody's cup of tea, which is fair enough. Battle Royale is a dividing subject at the best of times, but I have to say it, Firestorm hits the nail on the head when it comes to a Battlefield-style Battle Royale game. Despite me loving Firestorm though, it is still clear to see that the game mode is plagued with the same stuff as we've seen in the main game. It's frustrating, at times to play, but mostly to look at from the perspective of a long-time Battlefield fan. I intend to follow the Battlefield franchise for as long as I possibly can, but the direction DICE have taken Battlefield in recent years especially has not been to my liking at all, and in all honesty has been a detriment to the game. If you haven't already noticed, the backing track for this video is a selection of unlucky moments, or bullshit moments, that cause me to either laugh or more than likely shout at my monitor. These moments happen in every game, so don't feel as if I've included them all as examples of things that don't belong in a Battlefield game, because they do really, but some of them are examples of things that I would like removed, namely the visibility and poor looting in Firestorm. That being said, some of them are just fairly funny, so I thought it would be quite a nice place to put them, especially as we're talking about Battlefield 5 and maybe the direction DICE want to take the game in the future. So first off, I want to take a look at why Battlefield 5 is full of bugs, and why some of it just isn't that fun. I'm looking at the problems with Battlefield from a few different angles. The first angle I want to approach it from is the fact the game isn't finished, or at least wasn't when it was released. This is the same problem that Battlefield 4 had a couple of years ago. Well, why is this? I'm guessing it's because DICE are stretched and have incredibly demanding deadlines to hit with a game that is notoriously difficult to develop. I'm no developer and never will be, so I do not want to pretend I know what I'm talking about when it comes to creating Battlefield, but over the years it has been clear to see that even the smallest updates to Battlefield often bring with them 2 to 3 new bugs that the developers didn't anticipate appearing. More time, more testing, more developers to spread the workload. These things are what all games these days require in order to get past the unfinished releases and disappointment we've all experienced with various franchises over the years. You can also link in the unnecessary patches and poor decisions that we've seen so far with Battlefield 5. TTK 2.0 was a huge mistake, mainly because of the implementation. The change itself might not have been so bad, but the fact that DICE quickly reverted it back showed they had no real intention to keep it in the first place, and they also went completely against what the community stated they wanted. It was wasted time for everybody involved. Communication has been improving, and developers and community managers alike are working incredibly hard to satisfy the player base. However, even recently, we've seen some large-scale data mining posts on Reddit and leaks that essentially challenge any sort of marketing campaign DICE had planned. Cosmetics are another talking point. It's taken this long to see the majority of the cool ones reach the game, and now they are mostly locked behind a paywall. Yes, there may be other ways to unlock them, but that wasn't clear when the Boyns were released, and Jeff Braddock, the community manager, had to come out and almost paper over the cracks, as he's often been forced to do through Battlefield 5's life. The next angle that I'm talking about is the direction the developers, or whoever is in charge of the game, is choosing to take with Battlefield, and it's not what it needs in order to grow and become a more popular game with a longer lifespan, in my opinion. Things have changed, and a game's success is often linked to its popularity on Twitch or YouTube, and to be honest, I think that is the main reason EA decided to draft in Criterion Games to implement a Battle Royale mode in Battlefield 5. All the big streamers played it, but due to the same old reasons, it's dropped off a cliff when it comes to viewers, and barely lasted 10 seconds of the first round in the Battle Royales of Battle Royales. That might be a bit unfair because I'm still playing Firestorm and I do still watch it on Twitch, but I'm sure many of you will agree that it's just not on the same level as PUBG. and that was the game it was trying to displace. PUBG has been a game that captivated the gaming community as it capitalised on the success of previous Battle Royale modes and created a tidal wave of further Battle Royale games that are still being developed and released today, trying to feed off some of its success. Fortnite has surpassed PUBG, but I'm looking at PUBG because it's more of a similar experience, and from what I can tell, EA wanted to try and monopolise the Battle Royale market, with Apex taking on Fortnite, which it's had a fair shot at, but Fortnite is still by far the bigger game, and then you have Battlefield 5 Firestorm trying to take on PUBG. Now in that I was talking about some of the things that have plagued Battlefield 5 and Firestorm, and this is kind of why it's not being as successful as other games. I think DICE would really have to create a very special game to take on something like PUBG, because those really successful games like PUBG are one-off games. They're not looking to create a PUBG 2 or anything like that, whilst Battlefield is every 2 years. But what I'm saying is maybe they could have had a better shot at trying to take on PUBG, and if they'd removed some of the rubbish that was in Battlefield 5 and created a more pure mode, completely focused on Battle Royale, taking a bit more time over some of the more core mechanics and some of the things that really set Battlefield apart, I think they would have had a great chance to create a really good game. Now I'm not only talking about the looting, which really sucks and was a complete oversight and, to be honest, had a real impact on viewers when the game first released, but also other things. Casual mechanics. We saw them start to come in Battlefield 4 and to a certain extent in Battlefield 1 and then again in Battlefield 5. Who makes the decisions to have proning as it is in Battlefield 5? Visibility is appalling in Battlefield 5. Some of the weapons are clearly there to be hip-fired and sprayed and not aimed at all, whilst other times you are just thinking, why are there so many explosives in this game? Why can planes fly into my base and bomb me? Why are AA guns so effective against infantry? There are many things in Battlefield games, linking all the way back to the early Battlefield games, that are known as cheese, or things that can be abused in games and really should be patched out when DICE noticed them. But in Battlefield 5 they've been at an all-time high, and some of them have been really, really impactful when it comes to a good gaming experience. You've also got the conversation about what Battlefield wants to be. Does it want to be a sandbox Battlefield? Nothing has really topped Battlefield 4 when it comes to a sandbox Battlefield game. Does it want to be an immersive experience? Well, Battlefield 1 had a very good go at creating a World War I simulator in an arcade-style game. Are you looking for something that's all-out war in an original environment with addictive gameplay and true only in Battlefield moments? Well, you have to go all the way back to Battlefield 3 for that. What does Battlefield 5 actually offer? Apart from the fact it's in a World War II setting, what does that game have that sets it apart from everything else on the market? I don't think it really has much, which is a great shame. I think that it's an identity crisis that DICE are going to have to address for the next few titles. If they want to create a Battlefront-style Battlefield and regurgitate the same casual nonsense year after year while squeezing the player for every penny they have, with microtransactions on top of a full-price game, then go for it. But you'll lose the support of many, including myself. If they want to go back to what made Battlefield great, even if it doesn't quite work out, then the game needs time before it reaches its full potential, I'm fine with that. You'll have my support. When we're looking at this identity crisis as well, you have to consider the recent news about this 5v5 mode coming out. Why is it that DICE are constantly pushing for Battlefield to be a competitive game? They did it in Battlefield 1 with Incursions, which was a complete disaster from my point of view, and the same thing will probably happen in Battlefield 5 with this new 5v5 mode. Battlefield doesn't have to be competitive, but if you want to make it competitive, you have to go about it in the right way. It could be organic, maybe something could happen where an 8v8 mode appears on private servers like we had in Battlefield 4. I don't think any of that was initiated by the developers, that was just players and communities creating these modes. But in Battlefield 5 you can't even have custom servers, so how the hell can the developers think that it's a good idea to introduce a competitive game if they're strangling any sort of approach that the community could be taking before this 5v5 mode comes out? It just feels like another disappointment. There is also a complete change in demand and the overall player base when it comes to gaming and of course Battlefield. Fortnite is immensely popular. It's free to play, but also accessible on all platforms and at all skill levels. It provides entertainment for players that have less than 5% accuracy in FPS games, but also challenges those who compete at esports level. It might not be a great esports game, but you know what I mean. You've got some players that are absolutely insane at it and learn new stuff every day, whilst you have other players that jump on for an hour a week and can still have a lot of fun. And that's what Battlefield did really well in BF3 and BF4. You could have pros playing it and really exercising their technique and their skills and showing it off in videos, frag movies, and even though streaming wasn't that big back then, they still would stream and people would watch. And you also did have esports in Battlefield 3, and it was pretty big at the time. Battlefield 4 continued that to some extent, but then it dropped off a cliff. And it seems as if Battlefield is losing the edge that it used to have. It used to be a game that everybody could play, no matter what skill level you were, and everybody would enjoy it and really get a lot out of it. Just finishing up this video, I want to discuss whether Battlefield is a victim of its own success. For the most part, Battlefield 1 and 5 are fairly well made games when compared to other projects that barely get off the ground and fail to deliver on any of the initial promises pitched by the developers. Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 both received fairly good reviews on all fronts from the press and player base. However, this was clearer with Battlefield 1, and with Battlefield 5 some of those reviews have dropped off slightly. It's nothing that drastic though. The game has been fairly well received. The issue though is what I've alluded to throughout this video. Where do DICE go next? What do they do in order to beat or at least stay on par with the previous title? The Battlefield 2 community want their needs satisfied with a slower paced, more tactical and technical gaming experience. Battlefield Bad Company 2 players are still waiting to receive purpose-built rush maps, whilst Battlefield 3 fans have often found themselves going back to play the classic Noshar Canals or Damavan Peak in order to get that Battlefield fix. A lot of this has to be taken with a pinch of salt, and the old rose-tinted glasses are often put on before reviewing an older game, and you tend to forget the bugs and issues that plagued Battlefield 3 on release, or the lackluster map design on most of Battlefield 4's Conquest maps. But that being said, there is plenty to be taken from those games, and DICE could learn a lot from what worked in the past. Just because the gaming world appears to be moving on at a rapid pace to the tune of free-to-play battle royale games, cosmetic microtransactions and live service updates, doesn't mean the old formula won't have the same success if implemented in the next game. DICE need to look back at those games and work out what made them so successful and try and look at that for the next game, and hopefully it reaches the same heights. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is Battlefield 5 a great game, or do you think it will be forgotten fairly quickly? But do you think Battlefield 2020, or whatever the next game is called, could maybe become a future classic and really hit home when it comes to these all-out war only in Battlefield moments? Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.